Well, joining me now for more is Andrew Chanin. He runs Procuream Space ETF, ticker UFO. It's one of the largest funds dedicated to the space economy. It was the first one out into the marketplace. And of course, you're also CEO and co-founder of Procuream AM. It's great to have you here.
Great to be back.
What are your thoughts on this Firefly IPO today that we got? It was 25 times oversubscribed. And Firefly just sort of dovetails into what we've already seen from some of the other, what I would call space tech, defense tech IPOs we've gotten this year, and also just what we're seeing in commercial space, publicly traded companies in general.
I think companies are excited for this current IPO window. It's giving them the opportunity to, from what we saw today, raise even more cash than maybe they were expecting. Seeing that they raised about $868 million from the sale is going to help the company build out its runway, and it has a lot of really ambitious goals. So looking at a time like today, where markets have been very near all-time highs, is an exciting time for these companies to come out.
Yeah, it's not profitable. They're, in the tens of millions in terms of quarterly revenue, but they have a $1.1 billion backlog. And I think one of the things that's interesting to me is that some of these names are trading on the promise of space and the space economy that we're seeing usher in. How much of it hinges on government involvement and government support?
It helps. This isn't a company that's completely reliant on just government contracts, so they are looking for commercial clients and others. Certainly, NASA helps, the Pentagon helps, and anything that they could do with Space Force helps. But the more they're able to diversify, something like we've seen Rocket Lab be able to do as well, that's also helped keep excitement for some of these other names. And Rocket Lab, AST Space Mobile, these are all companies that people weren't maybe that familiar with a couple of years ago, and you do see people trading them at some pretty significant premiums at times.
And of course, we're awaiting Rocket Lab results here in this hour. We haven't gotten them yet. But in general, we're seeing a lot of these space companies that are publicly traded report earnings. Quite a few of them are in the UFO fund. What is the takeaway?
We've been really happy seeing how these space companies have performed as far as a broad industry. You look at things like the space report that comes out, and they keep on showing us that space revenues are increasing and the size of the space economy is increasing. I think a really important part is going to be government spending. Certainly the NASA budget is up in the air, but things like Golden Dome are making people pretty excited about the opportunity for companies to win some of these contracts. And to the extent that they're able to, you have a company like Firefly that has some interesting partnerships with a lot of other primes already. And there's a lot of confidence when you see big companies wanting to partner with companies that maybe people aren't as familiar with.
You think the IPO pipeline is strong for this subsector?
We've had 3 so far this year. It's tough to say who's going to be out there. I know Sierra teased a little over a year ago that they wanted to be out in 18 months. If you're on the fence about doing it, now seems like an interesting time, and I think companies are starting to step up.
One of the other things I think is interesting is some of the top holdings in your fund are actually what I'll call OG space names. I think about Viasat, for example. They've been around. They've been making money for a while in this space economy.
And for some companies, it's it's not a straight line. And so to the extent that companies are able to diversify, find new clients, get involved in other businesses, they're able to position themselves well now because several years down the road, there are going to be areas that are really important. And if you're building it now, you might have a chance to win those contracts and be a winner in the future.